And he made a $12 billion deal. And the $12 billion was bigger than his company by a factor of 3 times. And guess what? It turned out to be a disaster. And he went bust. Went bust. 30 years of success. And I mean serious success. And then he rolled the dice. You've got to be careful. And I asked him, I won't use names because a lot of you would know his name. But I asked him, I said, are you sure you're doing the right thing? Donald, I'm telling you, this is a total winner. Now, he really believes it. And we all believe it. You go into deals, and you go in and you think it's going to be great. And usually it is if you know what you're doing. But you can have some bad ones. You have to be, as a deal maker, as an entrepreneur, you have to be careful. You have to be prepared for the worst. You have to be untrusting. You cannot trust people. You know, it sounds terrible. You know, when I was younger, because for some reason I've been successful like for a long time. People have asked me to make speeches for a long time. Like years. I've been doing this for, you know, I like doing it. I like doing it because I like helping. I think I can help because I've had a lot of experience. But when you see people betting the ranch and trusting people. So when I was young, I used to say very candidly, get the best people and trust them. And I changed it about 3 or 4 years ago because I've seen some disasters where people got the best people and trusted them. Now I say, get the best people and don't trust them. It's true. You have to know more than them. You have to be smart. You have to be really tough. Because if they see any weakness and they work for you, they'll try and take over your company, your wife, your husband, your dog. They'll take over whatever they can take over. I see it. I have athletes coming to me. For some reason, athletes like me. They like me. And they come to me and they say, Mr. Trump, I'm going into a soda company. A guy, a football player in the United States, he's making like $11 million a year or something. A lot of money. Mr. Trump, I'm buying a soda company. Oh, really? You're buying a soda company? Really? Why? Well, I think we're going to have a new drink that's going to be great. I said, how much money are you making? $11 million a year. Now, first of all, you know, running backs, they're good for about 3 years. The problem is when you get money, you think you're good for the next 40 years. You're going to be a running back for 40 years. You don't know that you're going to hurt your leg or something's going to happen or you have a lifespan of about 4 years. But somehow when you have a good year, you think that year is going to always happen. So I said to this one guy, listen, if you do it, never ever speak to me again. Do you need more money that you're going to risk everything? And the reason I said it is because I got the name of the people that he was giving all this money to, and I called their number because I wanted to speak to them. And they have an answering machine, and they never call back. Not a good sign. So we called again and again, they never called back. And I told the guy, if you do it, that's fine, but never, ever speak to me again. This was a few years ago. So I got a call recently from the guy. He said, Mr. Trump, I want to thank you. Why? He said, the company that you told me, I like you and I want to have you as a friend, but the company that you told me about just went bankrupt. It went dead. Everybody lost all of their money, 100%, 100 cents on the dollar, not the pound in this case, 100 cents on the dollar. And you saved me from going in that deal, and I have a lot of money now and I'm really happy. And I love giving advice like that, and I see it so often. But I see all the time where these managers of athletes and of entertainers, because I know so many of them, steal the money. They steal it. So I now say, get the best people, but don't trust them. And it's very important. Does that make any sense to anybody? I think so. You know? Good. There's a big fan. Stand up, please. I love you too. Look at you. Come here. Come here. Come here. Look how beautiful she is. Look at you. So pretty. What do you do? Come here. Get up here. Get up here. Wow. Beautiful. I love emotion. I'll bet you're successful. Are you successful? From South Africa to see Trump. Trump.
Well done.
Trump. I like it. Okay. I love my audience. Another thing I found over the years, and again, we're going to discuss points of success, because ultimately, that's what it's all about. Another thing I found over the years is you've got to be focused. It happened to me in 1990. I was so smart. I tell you what, I thought I was the smartest guy in the world. My father, who was a builder in Brooklyn and Queens, and a good builder, he was a great guy, and he loved me. He thought I was so smart. And he said, everything Donald touches turns to gold. I said, what a nice statement from a father. This is a tough father. This is not like the guy that doesn't. This guy was tough. And then one of the big magazines, the biggest, actually had a headline. Everything Donald touches turns to gold. And then the world cratered. The banks went down the tubes. Everything went bad. Real estate, and I had to fight for survival. Many of my friends went bankrupt. I never did. But I will tell you, I was fighting for survival. I liked my life. I liked it. But I went back and I started to focus. Because I will tell you, in the early 90s, it was so good in the 80s that when the early 90s came, I thought it was too easy. And I'll never forget, I went on a trip to Europe, and I was in New York, and they say, Mr. Trump, there's a big tenant coming in, and they're going to sign an important lease. I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to be in Europe. Now, I love Europe, but I happened to be in New York at the time, right? I said, let my people handle it. They'll handle it. Well, the bottom line, I was in Europe. You know what I was doing? A fashion show. I was watching a fashion show, and if you think I was looking at the dresses, you were wrong. I was looking what was inside of the dresses. I wasn't looking, I had no interest in those dresses. But I wasn't focused. I wasn't focused. And when you're not focused, lots of bad things can happen. So this is just one small example, but it was an important deal. And I called my people, how are you? Mr. Trump, I don't think we're going to make it. What do you mean you're not going to make it? I said, I don't think you're going to make it. I don't think we're going to get them signed. I said, is Herman working on it? Yeah, but they don't relate to him. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sitting in Europe. They don't relate to Herman, who I pay a fortune, right? So bottom line, I should have come in and done it myself. Then in the meantime, the market starts to crater. And I mean, you think this recession was bad. And we have to learn, because I have a few friends, one of them in the room, I have a few friends like me that did better in this bad time, because I've been buying. I just bought Doral Country Club in Miami, 800 magnificent acres right in the middle of Miami. I wanted to buy it 3-4 years ago. I thought the price was too high. So I waited. I ended up getting it for a much lower price. Lots of things. I made a lot of those deals. When I was younger, I would have just paid the higher price. You have to learn, but you have to learn to be focused. If you're not focused, especially when you've had great success, when you have great success, you think you can do anything. But it doesn't necessarily work out that way. Now, there's another thing. Some people are luckier than others. Does that make sense to anybody? Do you think that? Do you see that? Because I know people that are smart, and I know people that are smarter than people that are more successful than them. But they've always, had bad luck. Now, to a certain extent, you make your own luck, all right? To a certain extent. And, I really believe it. The harder you work, you've heard the expression, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And there's truth to that. I'll give you an example. When I was in the early 90s, I owed billions of dollars to the banks. But I was cool. You talk about pressure. How about that pressure? Is that big pressure? That was very cool. I figured it was their problem, not mine. You have to feel it. They had a big problem. In fact, a friend of mine said, Don, you must be very nervous. I said, no, the banks are very nervous. But I'll never forget, I was, like everyone else, under tremendous pressure. And I was under, real scrutiny. Now, one of the papers, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, one of the big papers did a story, and they were so happy, in the early 90s. Well, Trump's really in trouble, and it looks like he's got, and they were so happy. I mean, this reporter was writing it like it's a fait accompli, and so happy. And I said, man, I just can't let this happen. And I went back and I focused like I've never focused before. By the way, since then, I've been totally focused. I think that's why I'm here now instead of sitting home watching television. So what happens, So, so what happens is, I'm under tremendous pressure. I owe billions of dollars to the bank, and what do I have? At the Waldorf Astoria, I have a big bankers meeting. Thousands of bankers sitting at the Waldorf Astoria. I owe them billions of dollars. And my secretary says, Mr. Trump, sir, you have a major dinner tonight. I said, oh, no. You know, sometimes when you're under, I don't care, no matter who it is, when you're under this kind of stuff, you want to sort of like go home and read a book or take it easy or relax. I got to go to a dinner. Not only a dinner, it was a black tie dinner. You know how bad it is to put on a tuxedo? So they say, listen, now, I know Prince Charles, you know, they all like it, but they do that for a living. That's for me, it's not, he does it every night. You got to hand it to the royal family. I love the royal family. I love the royal family. I do. And I love the princess. Even though, when you're going to be the Queen of England, you just don't take off your clothes around the swimming pool. I love her. She's beautiful. She's great. I even saw the pictures. Guess what? She looks great. She's great. But how do you sue somebody for taking your picture when you knew you're going to be the Queen of England? Yeah, but she is. I love the royal family. You know, my mother, by the way, was born in Stornoway, Scotland. My mother loved the Queen. She loved the Queen. I don't know, some of you were going to hate me for saying that. Some will love me for saying it. But my mother thought the Queen was great. She sort of doesn't make mistakes. You ever see her make a mistake? Now the kids, they make some mistakes. The Queen, not so much. So anyway, so I get a call. My secretary says you have to go out to dinner. The big bankers' dinner is tonight. I said, oh, I'm not going. Cancel. Then I get home. And I say to myself, I sort of have to go. You know, I mean, I owe these billions of dollars. I'm having these horrible meetings where they're getting a little nasty with me. I said, don't ever talk to me just because I owe you billions of dollars. Don't talk to me that way, you know. Took some people a little while to get that one. But I said, I go home. I'm tired. I want to sort of go to sleep. And I say, I'm going to the meeting. So I go to the meeting, like 2,000 bankers, big ones, sitting there. I sit next to two people at a table. And the guy on my left was a nice guy, big banker. Hello, Donald, how are you? He was friendly because I didn't know him anymore. And we're talking. And the guy on my right, I say to him, hello, how are you? He goes, hi. And I go, I wonder who this guy is. So I didn't even know. I had so many banks, I didn't even know who they were. It's true. And then I go, I look at him again, I say, how are you? And he just couldn't stand me. In fact, the guy on my left said, the guy on my right doesn't like me very much. He said, yeah, I noticed. I didn't know who he is. So finally, I look at the guy, I say, listen, I'm Donald Trump. You look like a nice guy. What's the problem? You owe us a lot of money. I said, I'm shocked. I said, well, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we started talking. And this was a guy who, by the way, put 39 different developers and business people in bankruptcy. He was a vicious guy. He never made deals. He was one of these guys, you know, like a ramrod. You owe us money, blah, blah, blah. There's no time, there's no payment, there's no nothing. He was a tough guy. And, you know, I don't even say smart, because I don't necessarily think that's smart, but that's irrelevant. But we got to talking. And by the end of the evening, he really liked me. I thought he was fine. It's amazing. Now, he said to me, I'll tell you what, Donald, could we meet on Monday? I said, not only meet, I'll come to your office. You know, when you owe hundreds of millions of dollars to a bank, you go to their office. You don't have them come up. So I said, I'll come to your office. Oh, that's very nice of you. I went to the office. I worked out a deal in 5 minutes. It was such a great deal. I probably wouldn't be here today unless you folks wanted to see somebody that was a loser and how it is to lose a great fortune, okay? Then I'd be talking to you about how to lose a fortune. But I might not be here. So I went to him. We made a deal in 5 minutes. But here's the point. Luck. Making your own luck. I believe in luck. But I also believe to a certain extent you can make. Let's assume my secretary said, Mr. Trump, you owe billions of dollars, but you got a bank meeting tonight. You got thousands of bankers at a big hotel. You got to go. Most people would say, I'm not going. I said, I'm not going, and then I went. Had I not gone, I would have been in serious trouble. There is no way I ever would have made that deal. And if I didn't make that deal, I wouldn't have made other banker deals. Because if you don't make that deal, the other banks, I don't know if you know about banks, but no bank is going to say, oh, okay, good, you pay him 100 cents on the dollar, we'll take 50, okay? It doesn't work that way. So, I made the deal. Remember, did I make my own luck? I went, I didn't want to go, I really fought it, I put on the tuxedo, I sat next to a guy, in a way I was lucky I sat next to him. But the end result was, I made my own luck. If I didn't go, it's not going to happen. So I think it's an important story. The other thing, I've seen so many people who quit. I've seen so many, just over the years, I've seen so many people who are smarter than the successful people, who don't have that drive. They quit. They have a good idea, but they quit. They don't bring it through. You know, my father, who I loved, he was very philosophical, but he used to tell this story as a joke, and it wasn't funny at all. But what it was, is you learn something. And it was about a man who loved the soda business. Loved the soda business. I like real estate. I like doing The Apprentice, one of the hottest shows in the United States. I'll talk to you about it. But it's been a great hit. And we have a version of it here. It's been great. But I love this story. It's about a man, and he starts a company. And it's a soda company. And he calls it 3UP. 3UP. And the company goes so bad, it fails so quickly, it's horrible. And he says, I'm not giving up. And he starts another one, 4UP, it fails, 5UP, it fails. He says, I'm going to give it one more try. And he starts a company called 6UP. It goes bankrupt. He said, that's it, I give up. And if he would have kept going, he would have had 7UP and he would have been a very rich man today, right? So my father thought that was, I don't know why he thought that was funny, but I thought it was sort of good. Because I have seen so many people fail because they quit. They may have a good plan, they may have a bad plan, but they quit. They were quitters. And I've seen it 100 times over. And you have to really understand, you can't allow that to happen. Now, I'll give you an example. I just mentioned The Apprentice. So Mark Burnett comes to see me 8 years ago. And I have the Woolman skating rink. I don't know, anybody ever go skating at the Woolman skating rink? It's great, in Central Park. So I fixed it. It took the city 8 years, $21 million, they couldn't open it. So I went to the mayor, I said, listen, I want to fix the Woolman rink because my kids are growing old. I want them to go ice skating before they reach their 30s. They were like 3 years old at the time. Ivanka, did you ever hear of Ivanka?
Yeah.
Is she great? Yeah. My superstar. She's a great girl, but she's a good person. So I went to the mayor and said, I want to fix the rink. And he actually let me. It was 8 years, 21 million. And I didn't use and build on what they did. I had to rip everything apart because what they did was so incompetent. I built the rink in 3 months for $2 million. And I still have it today. I mean, we run it, it goes great, it's, you know, it's great. It's just all about, like, you gotta know what you're doing. So, I get a call from Mark Burnett. Did you ever hear he did Survivor? Does, you know. And he said, I want to see you because I want to do a show. I said, what's the show? And I actually met him because he rented the Woolman skating rink during the spring for the finale of Survivor. He said, I have a great idea. It's a show called The Apprentice, and I'll only do it if you do it. This is before we put them all over the world, including here. And I said, you know what? It sounds interesting, and I've been asked to do a lot of television shows, and I've always turned it down. And I have an agent. The agent, let's call him Jim. Perhaps to see his name. And my agent said to me, don't do it, don't even think about it. Doesn't matter. So Mark told me about the concept. I gave him a couple of ideas. We put it together. We formed a partnership. Every network wanted it. We went with NBC. We shook hands. It was done. So I get a call from Jim, my agent. And he goes, Donald, I understand you've agreed to do a primetime television show. I said, that's true. I said, why do you ask? He said, because I will not let it happen. I'm your agent. No business show has ever worked in primetime, which is true. There's never been a business show, if you call it a business show, but there's never been a business show that's worked in primetime. No business show has ever worked in primetime, and this is what I didn't know, 96% of the shows that go on television fail. I said, you know, I wish you told me that like last week. I don't love this. But I shook the hand of this man, Mark Burnett, and I shook the hand of NBC. What am I going to do? He said, you got to cancel. I said, Jim, I can't do it. Because another point is, when you want to be known as a reliable person to be successful. Even sometimes if you want to sort of scoot out of something. I mean, a person whose word is good is good. And I shook hands. And when I shake hands, it's important to me. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that, but it really is. So I shake hands, and Jim is angry. The show goes on the air, as you all know. It starts at number 10, which is, by the way, a huge show. If it's like in the top 50, that's great. So it goes on the air, and you know the interesting thing, you from South Africa are going to understand this, because they said, this show can't be successful, because to have a successful television show in prime time in the United States, women have to watch women. And who the hell, what woman is going to watch Trump? I said, why, have I done so badly? One critic said he can't succeed because women will never want to watch him. I felt that was the worst thing for my ego ever. So the show goes on. And it started at number 10. It then went to 8. It then went to 5. And then to 3. And then it went to number 1. I had the number 1 show in the United States. I was a freaking movie star. Me. A real estate guy. And I knew it was big because I'll never forget. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. And I get a call. And I didn't know anything, but I get a call, and it's the chairman of NBC. Donald, I'd like to wish you a happy birthday. I didn't even know he knew it was my birthday. I didn't even know the guy. Who is this? This is the chairman of NBC. Then I get another call, the president of NBC. Donald, I hear it's your birthday. I'd like to wish you a happy... My wife rolls over. She said, who was that? Oh, just the chairman of NBC, the president. They want to wish me... My wife wished me happy birthday after them. So I knew the show was a big show. So it turned out to be a phenomenal show. So now what happens? I'm sitting, and they only gave me a 1-year contract because they knew it would fail. Even NBC said, we're going to just put it on, it'll fail, and that'll be... I got lucky. They had no options. Boy, did I have them by you-know-what. Because I'm sitting there. You know, I used to hear about Jennifer Aniston and Friends. And I like Jennifer. She's great. But Friends, and I'd read these stories, and I never believed them. Jennifer Aniston and all of these people, and there's 5 or 6 of them, get $2 million apiece, right? $2 million. Sure. Now, I don't know nothing about, I didn't even know what ratings were, because I'm in the real estate business. So what do I know about ratings? But I used to read in the big newspapers, Jennifer Aniston is making $2 million per show. And they formed a little union, the 5 or 6 of them. Each one of them was making 2. So that would mean, like, that means $10 million a show. And I'm a single. I'm 1. I don't have 6, I don't have 5. I have Donald Trump. So, you know, and by the way, my agent called Jim. He was the 5th call, not the 3rd. He said, Donald, I'd like to come and see you. Why, Jim? He said, because your show just hit number 1, and I think I'm entitled to a commission. You believe this? So I said, Jim, you were totally opposed to me doing the show. He said, no, I wasn't that opposed. Worse than real estate brokers, believe me. So what happens is I said, just out of curiosity, how much money would you want? He said, would $3 million be fair? I said, Jim, you're fired. I fired him on the spot. So, it's sort of like know your business, but I know nothing about show business, and I always tell you know your business, but you also have common sense. So I don't have an agent. I fired my agent because he was, you know, dope. And what happens is, but I do have knowledge, because I'm reading all about Jennifer Aniston, but I didn't really believe it, because I said, how can you pay somebody $2 million? Then I realized they sell so much to Mercedes and Cadillac and Procter & Gamble, these big companies. I said, you know, they can actually pay these kind of numbers. So now they come and they want to make a deal. And I said, man, am I in the catbirds? I don't know anything about this business, but if Jennifer Aniston's making 2 times 5, that's 10 million. So I say to these guys from the big television network, listen, you're paying $10 million to the people on another show, and I have higher ratings. Would $15 million a show, not a season, a show, would it be fair? And they said, no. And they ended up giving me a lot of money, but they didn't give me $15 million. But it's been unbelievably profitable. And then we went out to different countries. And I'll say this about Alan Sugar. We were looking for the so-called Donald Trump of different companies and countries. And what happened is we went to Germany. Didn't work. The guy didn't work out. We went to various other countries. Didn't work.
England
we
was
went to some
Sugar.
countries where it did work. But we came here and we chose Alan Sugar, and he's done a great job. He really has, don't you think?
Yep.
He's done a good job. He's no drunk, but that's okay. So, I've had a lot of fun over the years with business. You've got to keep it fun. I tell you, you know, your dreams can come through, and if you really think about it, The Apprentice is a good example in so many different ways, because there's something that has been very profitable. You know, beyond, people say, oh, The Apprentice, I mean, you know, it's been very, very lucrative. And it's been a lot of fun. And in terms of awareness, it's been bringing up, you know, it's great. You're talking about branding and things. But you never, ever should quit on something. I did this show, I was told it doesn't work. I went with my gut, which is another thing you have to think about. You have to have an instinct. You have to have a feeling. Your best deals are going to be made when people are telling you don't do it. I've had many deals about building on 40 Wall Street. I bought it in the height of the Depression. It was a phenomenal deal. Some people say one of the best deals per dollar spent. But I bought it very inexpensively, and it became a tremendously valuable building. Okay. Now, a couple of other things that I'm going back. If you don't mind, do you mind if I go back to New York tonight?
No.
I left Scotland. I got to deal with this crazy guy with these crazy windmills, and now I'm going back. I'm dealing with you that I like. But then I'm going back to New York, if you please don't mind. Here's a couple of other points. And I say this kiddingly. I was talking one time, but the one time it didn't work. I was asked to speak in front of like 2,000 priests. This was a strange, because I don't play well in front of priests, I'll be honest. I don't really work really great in front of a priest. But what happened is, I was telling them different things. And they liked it, everything was good until I said this. One of the things you should do in terms of success, if somebody hits you, you've got to hit them back 5 times harder than they ever were across the You've got to get even. And the reason you do, it's so important. Thank you, darling. Thank you, darling, I appreciate it. The reason you have to do it, because if they do that to you, you have to leave a telltale sign that they just can't take advantage of you. It's not so much for the person, which does make you feel good, to be honest with you. I've done it many times. But other people watch, and you know, they say, well, let's leave Trump alone, or let's leave this one, or Doris, let's leave her alone. They fight too hard. I say it, and it's so important. You have to hit back. You have to hit back. A couple of little examples. You and us, we go into Libya. What do? They kill our ambassador and lots of other people the other day. And I said at the time, take the oil. I'm a nice guy. I don't take all of it. Give them half. But they called you. They call our genius president, Obama. They're being routed by Gaddafi. Routed. Absolutely routed. It's over. If you remember, it was just about a day from over. The rebels, you know, like Gone with the Wind, the rebels, like a beautiful, glamorous term. The rebels come from places that don't like us. And they ask for help. So we say, and you say, absolutely, we'll give you help. And we start dropping bombs all over the place. We rout them, and the rebels go in, take over. And you know who they sell their oil to? China. We don't get anything from them. So when I said, and I've told this, and some people criticize me for it, and some people say he's right. When the rebels came, let's say if I were running things, I would have said, you want help? We want 50% of your oil. And that's only because I'm a nice person. I could ask for 75, but I don't want to be vicious. And you know what? If we said that, they would have given it to us. They would have given it to us. 100% they would have given it. But we don't ask. So what do? We spend billions of dollars. We drop bombs all over the place. We're spending a fortune. Not so many lives in that case, tremendous lives in Iraq. And $1.5 trillion. We get nothing. You know who's running Iraq now? Nobody knows. You know who's getting the oil? Nobody knows. We spent $1.5 trillion, the second largest oil reserves in the world, and we have no idea. We have no idea what we're doing. We're run by stupid people. Now, but think of it. You're sitting there, the rebels, you have no idea who they are. You have no idea. We need help. Oh, okay, we'll give you help. Now, if you went to them and said, listen, we deserve to get some money back, they'd say, how dare, we're a sovereign country. I can't believe you would ask, how dare you? We're fools, we're stupid people. So, the bottom line is, for success, common sense, you've got to be smart, you've got to be sharp, you've got to love it, you've got to do so many different things. Go with your gut when you have the gut, when you have it right. But, in my opinion, success, more than anything else, is caused by an inner confidence. You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to understand your subject. You've got to know who you are. You've got to love who you are. And you've got to really want victory. You've got to want victory. And if you don't want victory, if you don't really want it, then you should really, really sit back, enjoy your job, enjoy your life, because you're going to have one hell of a miserable life paying off everybody's loan. It's really true. It's really true. I finish with this, and I hate saying it, and everybody laughs. You know, they laugh and they say, oh, that's so funny. It's not funny. When two people get together, you've got to have certainty. If a man marries a woman, and let's say the woman is a great success, and let's say it doesn't work out. I have seen more businesses destroyed over marriage than any other thing. They're in love. Everybody's in love. Do you ever know of a couple that got married but they didn't like it? Oh, they're in love. Everyone's in love. 2 weeks later, they can't stand each other, right? You must have a prenuptial agreement.
Yeah.
Yes! So terrible. Everyone goes, oh, that's so funny, that's so cute. I have seen so many people and businesses destroyed. Yeah. To have a great business, you need certainty. And certainty means if things don't go great, you've got to be able to work it out. And you're better off working it out. With that being said, some of you are married, some of you are happily married, some of you have been married for many years to come. Guess what? Enjoy yourselves, because you're never going to sign it. How would you like to go to your wife or husband right now and say, you know, Trump wants us to sign. That's the end of that marriage, so forget it. I had that happen to me. I was explaining to a group, and I actually had that happen. And it was terrible. But you say it, and it sounds cute, and it's not. You need certainty in business. You need certainty in life. To be a great entrepreneur, To be a really great entrepreneur, you must have certainty. That's one of the elements of a certain certainty. Now, to be a warrior and to be successful, you have to think like a warrior, and you have to think positively. You have to have confidence in yourself. You have to have confidence in your ideas. I have no idea who some of you are, but I do have a great idea who others are. I think you're going to have an amazing success in this room. I really enjoyed being here. This is an amazing audience. I love this place. I love this country. And go home, have a good time, make your decision, go out, be an entrepreneur, and make Trump look like a small-timer. Because you know what? I want you to be bigger and better and richer than me if that's possible, okay?
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Donald Trump! One more time!